Crimson Control. This deck has many similarities to my Gaiomon deck profile I did a few months ago. But now it's time to provide some upgrades to the deck and discuss some changes on what I've done. Unlike a majority of other Gaiomon and Black War Greymon decks, this deck is designed more for a budget and attempts to optimize your matchups. Notice the lack of number 1, Death Xmon, and number 2, Omnimon Zwart Defeat. As always, if you enjoy these Meta Monday deck profiles, do consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that notification bell for more future content. Per the usual, I'll be going over the card by card, the strengths, the weaknesses, and the combos along with some side discussions. This deck runs 5 level 2s, 13 level 3s, 11 level 4s, 9 level 5s, 6 level 6s, 2 level 7s, 3 option cards, and 6 tamers. For level 2s, this deck runs 1 BT7 Couporiumon and 4 BT8 Gaiomon. Looking at Gaiomon first, this Digimon draws you a card whenever the Digimon above it has 6000 DP or more. Considering almost all of your level 4s and everything else above it has 6000 DP, it's a good, if not the best generic egg to utilize in Red. Unfortunately, that's Red's best egg. For the secondary egg, you have a few to choose from. BT6 Digivolution for the plus 1000 DP when swinging at players, BT7 Couporiumon for plus 1000 DP when you have a Tamer in play, BT9 Coromon for the plus 1000 DP if your Digimon is Agumon or Greymon, or even the starter deck Gigimon for plus 2000 DP when your opponent's Digimon is deleted. These were the eggs that I had strongly considered for the 5th slot, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. But for breakdown, Coromon can be useful for your Digimon, but it only helps with primarily your top end. Demimeramon is generic, but doesn't help with the control element if your meta is faced with the constant threat of D-Reaper. Couporiumon overall felt the best balance because you can maintain the plus 1000 DP with quite a number of tamers in your deck for Gaiomon and Black War Greymon's control elements with BT8 Metal Greymon. For level 3s, this deck runs 13 in the form of 2 BT8 Agumon, 4 BT9 Tapirmon, 3 BT8 Hawkmon, and 4 Solarmon. Level 3 wise, I wanted to maximize my searchability as much as possible. With 2 Agumons, this Digimon digs 4 cards off the top for a Greymon and a Dragonkin Digimon. When it comes to Greymon targets, you have 14 Greymon targets total and 8 Dragonkin, of which 6 overlap between the Dragonkin and Greymon name. Because the deck isn't purely focused on Greymon, you want some searchability but not rely on this particular Digimon. While the plus 2 add is nice, unfortunately Deltamon, Megadramon, and Nightmon don't quite fit that category. Tapirmon is an inherent plus 1 that can be added off Maki Himekawa and gives your Digimon plus 1000 DP if it has 2 or more colors. Hawkmon is your 2-color support searcher, having 23 total targets amongst your level 4s, 5s, and 6s. And lastly, Solarmon to stop your opponent from reducing play costs when you're in the Digicross matchup. The only level 3 that I wish I could add to the deck is Promo 9 Agumon. This Agumon provides plus 2000 DP to a Digimon with Greymon in its name. But seeing as a handful of my Digimon actually don't share this trait, I think this card is better utilized in a pure Greymon variant. For level 4s, this deck runs 11 in the form of 1 Grumblemon, 4 BT8 Greymon, 4 Promo Deltamon, and 2 Cyclonemon. The single Grumblemon is one of your endgame finishers, if you're going with hybrid for game. Because this deck doesn't utilize Blitz Omnimon, I wanted cheeky ways to end the game. And with 4 Maki Himekawas, what's a better way to go for it? 4 BT8 Greymon is mandatory in any deck that runs Black War Greymon. This Digimon provides inheritable blocker to your Digimon as long as there's a red Digimon on the battlefield. This includes the Digimon above it if it's Black War Greymon or Gaiomon. This is the one card you hate to see getting sent to the bottom of Hawkmon's effect, but love to see it when it's revealed off Black Agumons. Promo Deltamon is your MVP of the level 4s, allowing you to reduce the cost of your composite or Digimon with multiple colors by 2 when you Digivolve into it. This converts Digimon like Chimeramon, BT8 Metal Greymon, and BT9 Megadramon into a 2-cost Digivolution when this Digimon is pushed onto the battlefield. But the newest edition of Knightmon makes digivolution even cheaper by making the 3-cost digivolution into 1. And finally, Cyclonemon for the generic search off Hawkmon and Agumon for consistency. It's not the best card to use, but I personally like it for the searchability. For substitutions, I don't have too many recommendations other than dropping Grumblemon completely if it's a consistency issue for you. But as a 1-tech, I think it's fine. For level 5s, this is where the deck really starts taking shape. 4 copies of BT8 Metal Greymon for the inheritable attacking your opponent's unsuspended Digimon, if the level 6 is a Dragonkin or Machine. 3 Megadramon for Tamer Discussion, and 2 Knightmon for cheap digivolution costs. Metal Greymon is the primary level 5 you want to go into. In conjunction with Gaiomon or Blackboard Greymon and a BT8 Greymon, your Digimon has blocker and can beat over your opponent's unsuspended Digimon. This is the combination that threatens your opponent's board. But with Crossheart and Blue Flare making their way into the trading card game, Megadramon is necessary to pop the Tamers and remove any material saved. But also keep in mind that Megadramon isn't just limited to Tamers, but Digimon with a play cost of 3 or less as well. And finally, Knightmon adds more consistency to the deck due to the fact that it can be searched and have its digivolution cost reduced. Personally, I think tailor the ratios to what you want. Maybe even add Chimeramon if you want to recycle other inheritables. But from a consistency standpoint, you find your pieces much more easily with Hawkmon and Agumon. For level 6s, this deck runs 3 Blackboard Greymon and 3 Gaiomon. Blackboard Greymon has become quite the powerhouse as of late, especially with the new support it gets in BT11. Incoming restrictions soon? We'll see. But Blackboard Greymon when Digivolving lets you delete any number of Digimon and Tamers up to a playcost of 6 if you have a red for the Digimon and black for the Tamers Digivolution sources underneath it. Meaning a simple BT8 Metal Greymon is enough to do both. 3 Cool Boys? Gone. 2 Zenjiros? Dead. Taiki and Akari? Deleted. Gaiomon, while providing control elements, is also your more aggressive approach, while Blackboard Greymon is your defensive strategy. No substitutions here because you need Tamer Discussion and an offensive strategy. Gaiomon's inherent reboot is also amazing if you have BT8 Greymon and the sources for blocking. Additionally, even if you hit an Omnimon's Word defeat in the security, you can reboot and protect yourself by unsuspending. And now my personal tech in this build that makes this deck super budget. For level 7s, this deck runs 2 copies of the new starter deck Ragnaloardmon. Not Death Xmon, not Omnimon's Word defeat. Ragnaloardmon. And I'll explain the strategy in the combos. Ragnaloardmon isn't the primary goal of the deck. Rather, it's one of your win more pieces. Because of its multicolor status, you can search for it also off of Hawkmon and Maki Himekawa. But when this Digimon makes an appearance off 2 full stacks, you bet your buns that you're going to be deleting 2 Digimon and then trashing 2 security. Unfortunately, due to the wording of its all turns effect, you'll miss timing to use the unsuspend effect to swing twice. However, in several test games I've played, when this boy comes out, it's usually to trash the last 2 security and swing for game. For option cards, this deck has 3 option cards in the form of 2 Black Memory Boosts and 1 Gaia Force. I debated on the choice between red or Black Memory Boost for a bit. But between these 2 boosts, do you want the red for the add of potentially Solarmon, or do you want the Black Memory Boost for the potential add of Grumblemon and BT8 Greymon? I personally went with Grumblemon and Greymon because these Digimon are more important for my combos. And of course, 1 Gaia Force for reactive security. Substitution-wise, you could go a few different routes. Breath of the Gods to prevent your opponent's Digimon from attacking players if it's checked in security, or preventing your opponent from DP reducing or returning your Digimon to the deck or hand. Kongu for stopping the chip damage, or even cards like Ultimate Flare. Personally, I might adjust to Breath of the Gods due to the lack of protection without the Greymon X line. But more testing needs to be done as this deck is in the testing phase still. I'm just excited to show off some of its sick interactions. And finally, Tamers in the form of 4 Maki Himekawa and 2 Hero Amanakawa. Maki can potentially net you 2 cards to your hand in the form of Gaiomon and 1 of 23 potential multicolored black cards. Even if you don't hit that Gaiomon, I suspect you'll hit a multicolored black card. In addition, she reduces the digivolution cost. With Deltamon, you can potentially turn a BT8 Metal Greymon or a BT9 Megadramon into a 1 EVO cost, or your Nightmon into a 0 EVO cost. This card also works in conjunction with Ragnaloardmon if you straight Digivolve into it. And lastly, Hero a Monokama for the memory fixing to 3, and the additional plus 2k DP buff. The 2000 DP buff only applies to a Digimon with Gaiomon in its name, or a level 5 and higher. Hero will continue to remain important due to the fact that his plus 2000 DP buff can really make or break your ability to beat over certain Digimon. Death Xmon? Yep, gonna need it. Mother D Reaper? Yep, still gonna need it. With Tamermon, you barely clear the DP threshold to beat over these Digimon. For strengths and weaknesses, your bottom end is more on the expensive side of things, whether you on-play or Digivolve into them. But after level 4, your Digivolution cost can be cheaper or give you so much value. This deck also has the strength of being on the cheaper end of things due to not running Death Xmon or Omnimon's Word Defeat as counters for the BT10 meta. Weakness-wise, this deck plays more into a one linear stack, meaning you're relying on your inheritables to pop smaller bodies or set up blocks. But if that single body is removed, it can be a really bad time. For combos, this deck's goal is to build into your level 6 as quickly as possible. Ideally, you want to go turn 1 Tamermon into Deltamon. Turn 2, go into Nightmon for 1 or Metal Greymon for 2 to Digivolve and pop, and then go into Black War Greymon or Gaiomon. This puts out a major threat on board that either pops Tamers and Digimon in the Digi-Cross matchup, or you have an aggressive body that can check 2 security at a time. Once you have 1 body set up, you don't need to play any more Digimon on the field or build wide. This is to prevent your opponent from going into a potential Death Xmon. While they're trying to figure out how to clear the Gaiomon or Black War Greymon, you're now building a secondary stack patiently in the raids. Once that level 6 gets out, you can now swing for game with your 2 level 6s, with Gaiomon leading the charge of 2 security. Or if you're not feeling that the security is safe, DNA digivolving them together will trash the last 2 security with the 2 full Digivolution stacks of Gaiomon and your secondary level 6, and allow you to hit in for game. Remember, each turn Gaiomon can take 2 security and reboot itself for protection, or it can swing into your opponent's Digimon and force them to stay in the safety of the raids. What are your thoughts on Crimson Control? What would you change? Let me know your thoughts, and tomorrow I'll be going over another tactic, changing gears. And if you would like to see a pure Gaiomon variant, let me know as well. It'll be another variant in the pipeline if there's enough interest. But now it's time to explore a lot of other decks for the upcoming Cross Encounter format. This is DIGI-PANDA, logging out.